Non-tax revenue. Large sums of money reach the federal treasury from a multitude of non-tax sources. These receipts now come to over $40 billion a year. A large portion comes from the earnings of Federal Reserve System, mostly in interest charges. Non-tax revenues come from a variety of sources, including chemical fees for passports, copyrights and patents, interest earned, and selling philatelic stamps.
Did you look up what a philatelic stamp is?
Is it the ones they sell at the post office?
But did you look up specifically what it is? Okay, I'm going to issue you a challenge. Come back tomorrow. Give us a little information on that, will you?
Interest is charged for borrowed money, generally a percentage of the amount borrowed. And interest on loans made by several other federal agencies, fees such as items, passport, copyright, patents, trademarks also generate large sums. The Treasury Department maintains a conscience fund for for thousands of dollars a year that people send in to ease their minds over their past tax paying mistakes.
I love that one. That was awesome.
The philatelic sales branch of the United States Postal Service sells more than 100 million in mint-condition stamps to collectors each year. Stamp collectors spend untold millions more at local post offices. Most of the stamps they buy are never used on mail.
And keep in mind that fewer and fewer people are using the U.S. Postal Service, and so that's what's caused the increase in part on the cost of stamps, and that's why they're cutting back on some services. Why? Why is the U.S. Postal Service not doing as much business?
The technology, we don't no longer need to send notes or letters or, now we got a lot of internet, so it's quick,
Good.
The Congress has the power to borrow money for 150 years. Congress used this power to pay for crises such as war, pay for larger scale projects such as the construction of the Panama Canal. For most of the past 80 years, the government has borrowed money to pay for yearly budget deficit because it spends more than it raises from taxpayers. In most years, it spends more money than it collects in tax revenue. It ran up an annual deficit is a yearly shortfall between income and output.
So what, could you guys, and maybe you're going to get into this a little bit later, and if you are, I'll just hold my question. But can you distinguish, because one of the things that sometimes baffles students is the difference between the deficit and the debt. Can you distinguish between those two terms?
Could be the debt is the total amount of money we owe, and
The debt is the whole, the whole deficit is just yearly, however much we spend, we pass however much money that we really truly have.
Yeah, I think that's what you're saying. And the other thing is for the deficit is, as you said, it's one fiscal year. Be clear when you say fiscal year, not what? Not calendar year. Right? Let me ask you this little curveball. Are we deficit spending for the fiscal year 2014-2015?
Yes.
What?
Are we deficit spending for the fiscal year 2014-2015?
Yes.
Yes.
We are, right? Does anyone know about how much we're deficit spending for this fiscal year?
About $2 trillion. $5.
It's just under $1 trillion. Last time I looked, and it changes depending on the tax revenue that's coming in.
Fiscal year?
Yeah, you're looking at about 800 billion last time I looked.
Wait, for the whole country or?
Yeah, for government spending, deficit spending.
Oh, yeah.
No face on there, dude.
Fiscal year.
Congress must address all federal borrowing. It is done by the Treasury Department, which issues various kinds of securities to investors. The government is asked to borrow money at a lower rate of interest than those paid by private borrowers. Federal securities are also attractive because the interest they earn cannot be taxed by the state or the local government.
The public debt. The U.S. government can borrow money while offering lower rates of interest than those charged to private owners. This is because U.S. securities are safe investments and their interest is not taxed.
Now, let me add a little caveat there. Historically, U.S. securities have been very safe because people trusted that the U.S. government was going to be financially solvent, right? However, the U.S. bonds were downgraded by Fitch's. There's a couple of them. There's Moody's, there's Poor's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch's. Those are the three major credit rating agencies. And Fitch's downgraded this. Why would they have downgraded the U.S. bond?
Because
We're
they
not-
have so much
we're
of
not-
a debt that it would be
We gotta-
really hard to pay everybody back.
It would only hurt them because they know they wouldn't be getting their money back.
Right, and so good fiscal fiduciary requires that a bond rating agency appropriately values the bonds of cities, counties, school districts, and guess what? The U.S. national government.
Still, borrowing so much money has produced a huge public debt for the federal government. This debt includes all the borrowed money not yet repaid plus the interest owed. The public debt has exploded over the past 30 years, passing $1 trillion for the first time in 1981. About 1 in every $10 spent by the U.S. government now goes to paying interest on the public debt.
Okay, repeat that one more time because I want you to think about that. When you do that, that is money that can no longer go to education, to public defense, to whatever.
Yes, pay interest to the public debt. There is no constitutional limit on the public debt. Congress has put limits on debt, but simply raised them needed. The amount of debt is hard to imagine. It will affect future generations of taxpayers. There is no constitutional limit in the amount that may be borrowed, and there is no constitutional limit on the public debt.
Although there should be penalties for elected officials in the Democratic and Republican parties from Congress and the presidents who have allowed for such fiscal mismanagement, right?
Yeah.
All that money that people were supposedly paying into Social Security, they were spending left and right. Did they violate the public trust by doing that?
Yeah.
I know most people would say that was a violation.
Hell yeah.
What would you do to your investor if your investor took your money and spent it on other things?
I whooped that under.
Can't the people do anything, or you can't really do anything?
Yeah, you can vote them out of office. If they keep spending like drunken sailors, you vote them out of office. And you vote people in who are willing to take the bull by the horns. It's going to be painful, but if you don't deal with it now, it'll come to the point where you can no longer deal with it, period.
The interest came to some 300 billion in 2005 and will increase through the year.
And that's just a little chart, more recent chart of our public debt, how it's gone up, and our president's show.
So you're laying some blame here, I see.
Mm,
You're calling out some presidents there, I see.
Obama.
Look at Bush. Bush is not.
yes.